welcome to the grid here for the Scottish ModSports Championship here in 2023, here on our Armed Forces Day here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. And what a fantastic sight. We've got a packed grid of race fans here on what is I would say a dry Sunday afternoon. I wouldn't say sunny, slightly overcast, but perfect racing conditions. On pole position here, we have the wonderful Radical of Gordon Duncan, car number 8. This car was absolutely dominant this morning. Look at that racing machine there as well. Complete slick tyres, Avon slick tyres as well, and room for one driver and one driver only. And Gordon will be starting from the pole position. But alongside him, we'll have car number 179, Cameron Bryden. Now, Cameron, relatively early on in his racing career, his father Paul was a stalwart of the Scottish ModSports Championship, also driving a BMW M3. This M3 is slightly different. This is much more closer to the factory specification engine in the front, of course, as well. The M3 that Cameron's father Paul has is actually a Scandinavian touring car with the engine right in the middle of that one as well. It's actually a Nissan engine. It's not really an M3 at all. It just looks like one as well. But watch out for that car. Very, very quick off the line. Let's come and have a look and see who else we got on our grid, because the thing about Scottish ModSports is it's all about variety in this class. We've got two BMWs here on row number 2, Phil Russell and Andrew Patterson, two E36 spec BMW M3s. Andrew's a regular competitor here in the ModSports Championship. Phil from Perth, Phil Russell, in the beautiful typical BMW Schnitzer colours. And also you see them Vorsteiner colours as well. It's making me feel thirsty. Let's see if we can find some drivers. We can see Knockhill FM broadcasting over here. I'm sure they'll be talking much more sense to me. Kenny Edwards, our new pit lane reporter. Now, I wonder if Adam Kindness is around. This is his car number 55. And Adam was making a real nuisance of himself this morning amongst much more powerful cars. It's not got the power on the straights, but my goodness me, this car, fantastic on the brakes, great through the corners as well. And Adam wringing the neck of it as always. Adam also a competitor in the Superlap Scotland. It is the 10th anniversary this year of the Superlap Scotland, and Adam has been here since the beginning of the championship as well. A real supporter of the championship, and great to see him here in Scottish ModSports. Scottish ModSports is a wheel-to-wheel racing championship where you see many drivers come up from Superlap Scotland, which is against the clock, not racing wheel-to-wheel, and then coming into ModSports to start their kind of circuit racing debut. Let's keep going. We'll go and see who else we've got on the grid here. Car number 31, Natalie Cowie, who is in a fantastic battle with Adam Kindness for class honours. She won her class this morning by 0.003 of a second, which is probably 0.003 of a second. It's probably about the width of that little sensor there. That's about it. That's how close that battle was between them. Natalie coming out on top between those two minis. Car number 1 here, Mark Dawson. Mark, again, another driver who'd come up from Superlap Scotland. Mark was famous for battles with the little red Corvette that we used to see in Superlap Scotland. David Smitheram brought that Corvette up from all the way from the south of England, used to drive it up to the circuit, do 2 days of Superlap Scotland and drive it all the way back home again, and at work on the Monday morning as well. So Mark Dawson was always the guy who used to race against David, and it was very close between them. It's a new Honda this year for Mark Dawson, an Integra Type R. Was in a Civic Type R before, Integra Type R this time. I can't see him on the grid. We've got lots of, I can imagine we've got a big queue at the toilet right now, because all the drivers, they appear to be hiding and having a little bit of a chat there as well. So next to, we've got a lot of things we get as we head further down through the field. You see lots of Mini Coopers, a popular choice in the Scottish ModSports Championship. Here we've got James Strachan from the Eastmains Garage team, a great supporter of the Scottish ModSports series, using Advan treaded slick tyres on that machine. Cooper S, so these are the supercharged Mini Coopers as well, so they're always easy to follow them on circuit. You always hear them on circuit as well, that high pitched whine of the supercharger. Then heading through to some of our BMW Compact Cup cars. These are cars that you see racing all over the United Kingdom as well, part of a spec series. BMW Compacts very, very close to their standard specification, but still up to standard in terms of safety. So this is very close to how it came out of the factory in terms of its performance and tuning, but fitted with a proper racing roll cage, proper bucket seat and harnesses as well, so the driver can be kept safe in the event of an impact or an incident as well. But a proper H-pattern gearbox as well there, so no paddle shifting here, no cheating at all. So last few cars then, coming down the grid before we get going. Oh, we'll be getting chucked off the grid pretty soon. Louise Strachan getting quicker and quicker all the time here in the Scottish ModSports Championship in her mighty Mini Cooper. Also one of the Cooper S variants as well, so supercharged engine in that little car as well, as is that one there, Murray Douglas car number 96. Murray, another driver who progressed from the Superlap Scotland up into ModSports. Time for two more before we get chucked off the grid. And Michael Imrie, this car's been in the wars today, unfortunately, had a little off earlier on. You can still see a little bit of the evidence of that on the front of the car. Michael was he was just gutted with it earlier on, but he's back on the grid. He's going to go racing again here in the Scottish ModSports. Michael, again, another driver who's come up from Superlap Scotland, won his class there in that championship, and now putting his skills to the test wheel to wheel against this varied grid of card as well. And we're also going to see the mighty Dewar Mark I Golf GTI as well. This is another car to see being driven quite aggressively, quite spectacularly, but most importantly, quite entertainingly. This is going to be an exciting Scottish ModSports race.
Here we go, red lights on the gantry, keep our eyes on them, off they go, and it's a good start from the second and third row. Not a great start from Cameron Bryden, actually, as he does get away. Bryden just falling back a little bit into the clutches of, no he doesn't actually, thankfully manages to keep his second position, but it's Gordon Duncan who leads in the Radical in towards McIntyre's. Oh, somebody off in the background, that looks like Andy Patterson in the 26 car, having a big moment on the way in towards McIntyre's. And he just dropped a couple of wheels into the gravel, but managing to keep that on track and survive that tricky moment. Possibly cold tyres just getting the better of him as he goes through Les's in towards McIntyre's. But already Gordon Duncan streaking away at the front in his Radical. Gordon, a man who's no stranger to Knockhill Racing Circuit, done a lot of track days in his time, but stepping into racing as we see Paul Smith up the inside of defending champion Mark Dawson. And Mark Dawson not here in the Honda Civic this year, he's got a Honda Accord, and this car is a little bit of work in progress. It was a late entry for Mark to get him into the actual race meeting, but great to have the number one car on track, and that will get faster and faster as he has a look up the inside into Duffy's Dip, but unfortunately not able to make that move there. That's such a short braking zone in the way in towards you, but it's a big lunge into McIntyre. He locks it all up, runs a bit wide, he does get past, but can he keep that on the exit? They're side by side through Butchers. He gets forced out by Paul Smith, and he's now got James Strachan also all over the back of him, and Donald Dewar drops a wheel in the grass as he goes through Butchers, so it's very much all happening in the mid-pack for the ModSports. We can see Imrie going through ahead of Donald Dewar there in his lovely Mark I Golf that Peter Mackay was practically gushing over on the pit walk, which did like that. I love the car that Donald's had. He's had it for a long time, as well as into the hairpin comes Paul Smith. Great to have Paul here in another Mini Cooper S. And well, Mark Dawson with that, I'm going to say lunge, because that was more than a manoeuvre, Mark. That was a big lunge up the inside into McIntyre's. But he learns to fight another day, or lives to fight another day. Is Louise Strachan now. Little Louise with Michael Imrie, another man who's moved up, as Peter Mackay did tell us, from Superlap. Imrie has a look up the inside in towards Clark. Will Louise give the room? Yes, he does. Oh, she does give the room. And I think Imrie was coming through no matter what there, as they go through that tight uphill corner of Clark Corner. Tricky corner because it leads onto a long straight and looks like Louise has got a better run through the corner, and back up the inside goes Louise Strachan to make the move on Michael Emery. So good late braking manoeuvre from Louise, and here comes Michael Emery now back on the inside. So these battles very much all happening in the mid-pack, and Donald Dewar thinking he wants to get very much involved. Cameron Chalmers in 37, who we can see going up there. 3 abreast under the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Donald Dewar on the inside, but Emery looks like he's got the position as they go over Duffus Dip and through Les's now. So great fighting there from Michael Emery, making the manoeuvre, getting repassed, but then kind of making a bigger, braver manoeuvre in towards Duffus Dip, as we've just seen through the chicane. The new track limit features on the curbs there, going through. These guys and girls all very warned about what to do and what not to do on track. You can't stray across and use far too much of that red area there. You cannot be on that red area coming through Clark Corner, as we see Louise Strachan doing her best to stay away from that very red painted area. Into the hairpin up, there goes Mark Dawson through with the number 1 on his car. Donald Dewar now coming up the inside of Louise Strachan. Louise has to yield that position to the much more experienced Donald Dewar. But look at that, Donald gives her a whole heap of room on the exit off the corner, and then up through the gears, up that big long hill in that little Mark 1 Golf GTI. We haven't seen too much of a leader. Gordon Duncan is streaking away at the front in the Radical. The best lap we've seen from Gordon so far is a 53.879 as Emery up the inside of another Mini. That's James Strachan, who has now had the treatment from Michael Emery. That Renault Clio that we've seen Michael with an off this morning, and a very strange off for Michael, not something we see him doing very often. Still with the mud scars as he sat on the grid. Obviously not enough time to wash the car, but just enough time to get it prepped for the race. Here's Cameron Chalmers in 37 with Cliff Harper behind him. Great to see Cliff Harper here, a man who we've seen in the BMW Compact Cup in years gone by, but Cliff very much in a ding-dong battle with young Cameron Chalmers in his Mini Cooper as they come up over the straight. The Cooper S, just with that little bit more power, able to keep ahead of Cliff Harper. But Cliff, as we know, good friends of Richard Sutherland, who's not here this weekend. He will drive the absolute wheels of that BMW all the way around. We've also got Stephen Somerville and Phil Russell, who we haven't seen yet. Oh, a little bit wide for Cameron Chalmers there, and that just opens the door, and through goes the veteran Cliff Harper. We can't call Cliff a veteran because he's been around long enough and he knows exactly what it is all about. Into the hairpin, we see our leader though in the Radical. The Radical PR6 for Gordon Duncan. Through he goes on the inside of, first of all, 55 Adam Kindness, and Adam being chased down by number 46 Paul Smith. Those minis look very similar, almost teammates, but they're very much not teammates. Adam with Track Scotland, and Paul Smith pops out in his Mini Cooper S trying to get past Adam, but unable to make that manoeuvre stick. Will he do it in towards Duffus? I wouldn't have imagined so. Kindness turns in quite late, gives him a bit of room on the inside if it was needed, but a nice bit of respect from both drivers there. Paul Smith deciding to not send it, and Adam Kindness giving him a little bit of room in case he did send it, as they go bouncing their way through the Black Circle chicane and then up the back straight towards Clark Corner, where we've just seen Gordon Duncan streaking through and heading towards the hairpin. 53.0 last time round for the race leader, so he is not slowing down the pace. He's into a lot of traffic now as they come through. That's Natalie Cowie who we have got in there. Natalie Cowie, great to see Nat back, and running very well so far. Natalie Cowie, she's inside the top 5 at this point in the race. Into the hairpin, still this Kindness and Smith battle. Kindness trying to cover the inside, just enough room for Paul Smith to drive along the white line and possibly get the car alongside Adam in the braking zone. But Adam Kindness, he's done this for a long time now. He's a man who knows how to deal with the pressure. Here comes Smith up the straight trying to go past Adam Kindness. Kindness has made his one move. He can't now move back again. He's got to hold his line. Will Smith go round the outside? No, they've got Stephen Somerville who's not wanting to let them pass. Somerville throws the car with great gusto towards the apex of Duffus Dip. And look at that beautiful drift from Stephen Somerville. That's a highlight reel moment for Stephen Somerville as he goes through McIntyre's. He made that look so good in that BMW. Look how hard he's driving the BMW through the twisty part of Knockhill Racing Circuit. Just these Cooper S's with a little bit more oomph under the bonnet as they get to Clark's. Is very tight. Somerville almost forced a little bit wide off track there when he didn't give Kindness enough room to get through. But brilliant driving as our leader comes out of the hairpin up towards the checker flag. Gordon Duncan has been on form here this weekend. Brilliant to see him take his first double victory at Knockhill, and Adam Kindness will just hold off Paul Smith, although it's incredibly close as they run up towards the line, and they will both be loving that little battle they had with Stephen Somerville. Cameron Bryden does get second. Andy Patterson, who we only saw at the beginning of the show sliding towards a gravel trap, Andy Patterson gets third overall. He'll be delighted with that. One of our driver representatives, third overall for Andy Patterson, ahead of Natalie Cowie in fourth. Great result for Natalie Cowie, and rounding out the top 5 we have 55 Adam Kindness. So results on screen, you can see them there. Defending champion just behind Paul Smith was Mark Dawson, Imre Dure and James Strachan comes home in 10th place. Remember, we're back on the 3rd and 4th of June. Get your tickets, come along, see the ModSports in action, anti-clockwise Saturday, clockwise on Sunday.